Late Isand Gentlemen, there is a psalm that was not merely written for ancient Israel. It was written for you, for today, for this very morning, for struggles, academic, before you check your phone, before you step into the noise of the world, there is a call from heaven. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? This is not poetic metaphor. It is divine strategy. The enemy of your soul knows that if he can sow fear into your first thoughts, he can steal the rest of your day. But Psalm 27 interrupts the lies. It stands like a trumpet over your mind, over your morning, and declares, "The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid?" Psalm 27 begins with a bold and defiant proclamation. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? This is not a passive statement. It is a declaration of war against fear, anxiety, and darkness. When you awaken in the morning, academic, the first battle you face is not with the tasks of the day, but with the thoughts in your mind. Academic, what you believe in the first few moments of the day will often determine the direction of the next 24 hours. David begins this psalm by anchoring himself not in his circumstances, but in the eternal character of God. God is his light, meaning he brings clarity, direction, and truth. He is his salvation, meaning he is the deliverer from all trouble, and he is the strength of his life. Not a supplement, not a fallback, but the very core of his existence. That's how you must begin your day, not by asking what the world has planned for you, but by declaring who your God is. Academic, we live in a time when fear has become a currency. The world trades in panic. News headlines, notifications, social media, all of it seeks to inflame emotions and destabilize your peace. But Psalm 27 is a divine interruption. Academic, it is a weapon in the hands of those who dare to live above the chaos. David, though surrounded by enemies, though pursued by warriors, proclaims, "My heart shall not fear." How can he say this? Because eyes are not fixed on the enemy, they are fixed on the Lord. This is the first secret to victory. Fear loses its grip when God becomes your focus. There is another profound truth here. David speaks not only of the external battles, but of the internal longing. One thing I have desired of the Lord, that will I seeking to dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. In the midst of war, he speaks of worship. In the middle of conflict, he speaks of communion. That is the key to unshakable peace. The presence of God is not just a place of refuge. It is a place of realignment. Academic, when you dwell in his house, when you prioritize his presence, the noise of the world fades and your soul finds its proper rhythm. So when you wake up, choose Psalm 27 as your foundation. Before you check your phone, check your heart. Before you react to the news, declare the truth. Say aloud, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. I will not be afraid." Let those words shape your attitude, your choices, and your direction. Because when the Lord is your strength, fear becomes irrelevant. When he is your focus, chaos cannot shake you. And when his presence is your priority, academic, you will walk not just through the day, but through the fire, through the battle, through the darkness, with unwavering faith and unstoppable purpose. When David declares, "Though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear," he is not offering poetry for the sake of comfort. He is revealing a divine reality, that there is a peace available to us that surpasses human understanding. The image he paints is not one of mild inconvenience or internal stress, but of an actual army, a visible, advancing threat meant to intimidate and consume. Yet his heart remains calm, not because the threat isn't real, but because the presence of God is more real to him than the danger. This is where the children of God must be trained, not only in responding to what they see, but in aligning with what is unseen. The battle may be around you, but the victory must begin within you. That is the essence of divine perspective, to live not as a slave to circumstance, but as one anchored in eternal truth. The phrase, "My heart shall not fear," is not born of arrogance, but of revelation. It is the product of knowing who God is and choosing to trust that identity regardless of what arises. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a decision. It is a turning of your gaze from the creator to the crisis, from the sustainer to the storm. David had enemies, betrayal, uncertainty, and threats to his life. But he also had something else. He had vision, not just earthly vision, but spiritual clarity. He saw the Lord. He beheld the one who is unshaken by kings and unmoved by nations. This is what allowed him to walk in courage. Not a lack of trials, academic, but the fullness of God's presence. Every morning you rise, the world offers you the opportunity to dwell in fear. It speaks through headlines, through bills, through news of sickness, of conflict, of loss. But the kingdom offers you something greater in assurance. Psalm 27 invites you to live not as a passive victim of the times, but as an active carrier of peace. When David says, "Quin this, I will be confident," he's not referring to his ability or strategy. He's declaring his confidence in the covenant. He knows who goes before him, who stands beside him, and who reigns above him. So you must ask yourself, in what are you confident today? In your resources, in your relationships, in your strength, academic, or in your Redeemer, because only one of those can hold you when the earth shakes. Academic. The reason David could stand fearless in the face of overwhelming odds was because he had already placed his trust in the one who commands the armies of heaven. Academic. That is not just theology. That is a lifestyle. When you begin your day with Psalm 27, not just reading it, but living it, you align yourself with the unshakable. Academic, and in doing so, you become a witness to the world that no matter what surrounds you, your heart shall not fear. When David declares, "One thing I have desired of the Lord, that will I seeking, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life," he unveils the secret weapon of victory in every battle. Desire. Not for revenge. Academic, not for resolution, not even for answers, but for God himself. This is where many believers miss the power of the psalm. David was not merely seeking deliverance. Academic, he was seeking presence. He understood something that transcends time. The greater the storm around you, the deeper you must go into the sanctuary of God. Not the physical temple, but the abiding nearness, the dwelling of the soul in communion with the eternal. What we chase determines what we carry. If you chase security, academic, you'll carry anxiety. If you chase approval, you'll carry fear of rejection. But if you chase the face of God, you will carry glory. David's desire was singular. He wanted to behold the beauty of the Lord and inquire in his temple. That means worship and intimacy. Not a casual glance, but a continual gaze. To behold is to fix the eyes, to refuse distraction, to focus not on the chaos, but on the character of God. In the Hebrew mindset, beauty is not only aesthetic but moral. The beauty of the Lord is his holiness, his mercy, his perfection, his justice. And David says, I want to stare at that. Every morning you have a choice to behold the problem and to hold the provider. Psalm 27 is not just a personal song. It is a call to priority. The secret to peace, to clarity, to power is found not in doing more, but in seeking deeper, that I may dwell. David wanted to remain. Academic, not just visit. Many people visit the presence of God on Sundays, but they live in fear on Monday. David reversed the pattern. He lived in the presence, academic, and so he reigned over fear. God does not call you to seek him so he can hide. He calls you to seek him so you can find him. And when you find him, you find your strength, your identity, your clarity. David said, academic, in the time of trouble he shall hide me in his pavilion. That is not poetic escapism. It's a spiritual reality. The world may shake, but there is a hiding place. Not to run away from the world, but to be filled with peace so you can stand in the world. This August, or whatever season you are in, understand this: the enemy may roar, circumstances may escalate, but your secret place determines your strength. And that secret place is not found in social media, academic, not in control, not in your own wisdom. It is found in the beauty of the Lord. Seek that beauty, dwell in that presence, and watch as fear fades and faith rises. Because the heart that seeks God will always find more than safety. It will find glory. When David speaks in Psalm 27, he is not speaking from a palace, but from a battlefield of the soul. He writes, though an army encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. This is not the voice of Norvi optimism. It is the cry of a man who has anchored himself in the unseen. He acknowledges the real threats around him: armies, adversaries, false witnesses. But he refuses to let become greater than the reality of God. In our lives, enemies may not come with swords, but they arrive as anxiety, disappointment, rejection, depression, and fear. Academic. The power of David's declaration is not that there were no battles. It's that his heart was prepared before the battle ever began. Academic. The heart that has already seen the Lord in secret does not tremble before the enemy in public. And that is the lesson many need today. The day you begin in fear will likely end in confusion. But the day you begin in the presence of God, even if chaos erupts, your soul will remain anchored. David says, "In this I will be confident." What is the this? Not that the enemy will disappear, not that the storm will cease, but that God is his light and salvation. Confidence is not the absence of struggle. It is the presence of truth. Light exposes deception. Salvation delivers from destruction. Academic. So when David calls God his light and salvation, he's saying, even if I cannot see the outcome, I already stand in the victory. David didn't wait until the battle to build his confidence. He nurtured it in the morning hours. Academic, that is the power of Psalm 27 for every believer. Start your day by setting your mind on who God is and not what you fear. Before you open the door, open the heavens. Academic. Before you step into the noise, step into the secret place. Many begin their day scrolling through their phones, absorbing the negativity of the world. But David began by lifting his soul. He said, "Hear, Lord, when I cry with my voice." That is the key. He knew the ear of heaven was attentive, and so he did not need the approval of man. The Lord is still waiting for those who will seek his face first. When you said, "Seek my face," my heart said to you, "Your face, Lord, I will seek." That verse reveals a divine conversation. God initiates, but man must respond. If your heart is heavy, if the news is dark, if your strength feels weak, remember the invitation still stands: seek my face. That is not religion, that is relationship. Gemic, and the one who responds to the call will discover that the face of God is not hidden in the clouds, but revealed to the surrendered. So start your day not with panic. Academic. Not with plans, but with presence. Begin it not in striving, but in seeking. And as you do, you will carry with you the same confidence David had. Not because the world is easy, but because your God is near. The beauty of Psalm 27 is found not only in its poetic rhythm, but in the raw, unwavering pursuit of God's presence. David doesn't ask for riches or ease or even escape. He asks for one thing: that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life. In a world of endless distractions and shallow pursuits, this single-minded desire stands in powerful contrast. David knew that everything he needed, protection, peace, purpose, flowed from one source: the presence of God. When your morning begins with that pursuit, the atmosphere of your entire day shifts. Fear loses its grip. Confusion loses its voice. Because you are dwelling not in chaos, but in communion. Think about what it means to dwell. It's not a passing moment. It's not a rushed prayer or a fleeting thought. To dwell is to abide, to remain, to settle in. When David speaks of dwelling in God's house, academic, he's not referring only to a physical place. He's referring to a state of being. Academic, it is possible to walk through the noise of life while remaining in the quietness of his presence. You can sit at your desk, ride the bus, attend the meeting, face the challenge, while still dwelling in the sanctuary of the Most High. That kind of spiritual anchoring doesn't happen by accident. It happens because your morning aligned your soul to heaven's frequency. David also speaks of beholding the beauty of the Lord. Why beauty? Because beauty draws you into wonder. When we start our day beholding the problems of life, we shrink. But when we begin beholding the beauty of God, His mercy, His power, His holiness, His faithfulness, we expand. Our vision is lifted, our faith is stirred. The beauty of the Lord doesn't just impress us, it transforms us. And the one who is transformed in the morning will not be shaken in the evening. Then David says something extraordinary. For in the day of trouble, He will hide me in His pavilion. Not might hide me, will. There is certainty, assurance, confidence. Because David had already entered the presence of God. He was not dependent on outward stability. He He was already hidden in the one who never changes. That pavilion is not made of stone or wood. It is made of promises. It is covered in grace, and it surrounds the one who abides under the shadow of the Almighty. So many wake up each morning and enter the day as if walking into a war unarmed, but Psalm 27 gives you your armor. It gives you your footing. It teaches you that the real victory is not found in having fewer battles, but in learning how to rise above them. Your peace, your strength, akhlemic, your clarity, they all begin where David began, in pursuit of the one thing. And when you choose that one thing at the start of your day, you'll find that everything else begins to fall into place. David concludes Psalm 27 with a stirring and defiant declaration. I would have lost heart unless I had believed that I would see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. What a powerful confession. He's not waiting for heaven to behold God's goodness. He's expecting to see it now, here, in the middle of life's pressures. That belief gave him strength. It gave him endurance. And this is how you must start your day, not with dread or despair, but with the unshakable belief that goodness is coming. Not because the world is good, but because God is. Too many people begin their morning rehearsing yesterday's failures or today's fears. Their minds spiral before they even step out of bed. But David teaches us a different posture. He lifts his eyes. He anchors his heart in a holy expectation. Not fantasy, not denial, but a confidence rooted in the nature of a covenant-keeping God. When you wake up and choose to believe that you will see His goodness, you position your soul for miracles. You prime your day for purpose. You silence the lies before they can speak. But here's the key. That kind of faith doesn't just appear. It is cultivated. And that's why Psalm 27 doesn't end in passivity. It ends in a charging. Wait on the Lord. Be of good courage, and He shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. This isn't waiting in fear, it's waiting in trust. It's the stillness of a soul that knows help is coming. It's the quiet confidence that comes not from control, but from surrender. Be of good courage. Why does David say that? Because courage is not the absence of fear, it is the resolve to move forward anyway. And that courage is not something you generate. It is something God gives. He shall strengthen your heart. This is God's promise. If you wait, if you trust, He will infuse your heart with strength, not just emotional motivation, but supernatural endurance. A heart strengthened by the Lord can walk through storms and not collapse, can face enemies and not retreat, can endure delay and not break. So how do you start your day with Psalm 27? You wake up and lift your eyes. You choose to believe that God is still writing your story. Academic. You set your feet on the ground and declare that you will dwell in His presence, that His beauty will be your focus, that His promises are your covering, and that His goodness will be seen, not just in eternity, but today. You wait on Him not in frustration, but in faith. You walk in courage, not because you have it all together, but because He holds it all together. And when you do, your day is not just another cycle of survival. It becomes a sacred journey into the heart of God's purpose. That is how victory begins. Before the battle, in the stillness of morning worship. When you rise to meet a new day, Psalm 27 doesn't just offer pudic comfort. It arms you for battle. It doesn't whisper sweet thoughts to get you by. It thunders a truth that rewires how you walk through life. The final words of the psalm echo like a command spoken from heaven itself. Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and He shall strengthen your heart. Wait, I say, on the Lord. Why does David repeat it? Because this is where the war is won or lost. Right here, in the waiting and the trusting, in the strengthening of the heart. Each morning is a divine intersection. You're not just waking up to a routine. You're waking up to destiny. Whether you see it or not, you are stepping onto a battlefield where fear, doubt, and despair will try to claim your thoughts. But before they do, you are called to lift up your eyes. Start your day not with your to-do list, not with social media, not with the news, but with this: truthing the Lord is your light and your salvation. You are not walking into the unknown alone. You are not waking to chose. You are awakening into purpose. The world will always try to push you into reaction, into worry, into performance. But Psalm 27 teaches you to respond with stillness, with faith, with holy boldness. There is a pace to the kingdom. It is not rushed, not panicked, not driven by fear. Academic, the psalm calls you to wait, but it's not the passive waiting of indifference. It is the focused waiting of trust. like a watchman scanning the horizon for the sunrise, knowing it must come. And in that waiting, something happens. God doesn't just send help. He strengthens your heart. He builds within you a foundation that no circumstance can shake. So when your feet touch the floor in the morning, say it out loud: I will see the goodness of the Lord in the land of the living. That confession is not just wishful thinking. It is prophetic alignment. You are stepping into the day not as a victim of chance, but as one led by the shepherd. You are not at the mercy of the storm. You carry the peace that calms it. And that peace comes from the sanctuary, the presence of the Almighty, where David longed to dwell, and where you are invited daily. Start your day with praise, with presence, with proclamation. Start it on your knees, not out of defeat, but in surrender to a God who already goes before you. When you begin like this, the day doesn't master you. You master the day. Fear loses its voice. Discouragement loses its grip, and hope rises. Not the kind that flickers, but the kind that burns, a lampstand in the darkness. Psalm 27 is your morning anthem. Let it rise from your heart before the world speaks a word. And in doing so, you will walk not just through the day, but through it in victory,